Now, I'm going to say a bit about Europe, social Europe, not a term that we use here too much in Britain, but widely used by unions and by governments and employers alike to describe the employment and social rights that need to underpin a competitive but fair Europe. For the European unions, it means, like it does here in the UK, greater income equality, greater investment in skills and careers, decent employment equality, trade union rights, strong public services, and a proper worker voice. Not just in the good times, not just over collective bargaining issues, terms and conditions of employment, but about having a genuine say in how organisations and companies are run. We kind of used to call that social partnership or partnership working here, didn't we, before it became an almost dirty word. I think, and for good reason I think in many areas, I personally think we need to reclaim that notion of partnership working as a force for good. The TUC have produced, and the TUC had a lot of input, something called the Social Compact for Europe. It spells out all of what I've just been saying, why it's integral to a fair and prosperous Europe. It's actually, for a European type document, not a bad read. And you can get a copy from either TUC or TUC website. Now, Sue's mentioned I'm currently TUC president, which is a great privilege for me, just for 1 year, combining with my day job at the CSP. And I've taken equality in its widest sense as one of my themes for my presidency. Freedom from discrimination, obviously, income equality I've mentioned, but also fair taxation, access to justice, tribunals were mentioned earlier. And I haven't got the best memory for kind of figures and for other people's quotes, but a couple in recent months have really stuck in my mind. The first one was from the boss of the International Monetary Fund, Christine Lagarde. Income inequality is corrosive to growth. It is corrosive to society. Really kind of powerful words from an organisation you wouldn't really expect to hear that from. Just the other statistic that I constantly think about is a 600% increase in food banks in the UK since the recession began. Now, in terms of, that's the kind of, spell out in a few words what the vision of a social Europe is, but actually what is the reality? Here in our country, we're clearly going backwards. I went to an TUC conference with Francis O'Grady in January, just after David Cameron had made his announcement on repatriation rights and referendum. And I have to say there was some bemusement at that TUC conference, but also some concerns from the unions as well about how actually strong the commitment was from their governments to decent employment and social rights, or might they be willing, in at least some of the countries, to trade them to keep the UK in Europe. You know, it is a hugely concerning area to everyone in the trade union movement, but I don't think it's plain sailing for the Conservatives and the UKIPs of this world, and this is where the Unions21 polling comes in. What the polling shows, and you've got all the data, you've got the highlights in the main body of the report published today, you've got the actual detailed tables in the back. What it shows is that British workers, and it was a poll just of workers as somebody's already said, British workers currently are less Eurosceptic than the British public as a whole. The British public as a whole, 45% would vote to stay in Europe if there was a vote tomorrow, as opposed to 50% of trade unionists. So we're even Stevens, everything to play for in terms of our own trade union members. But, and I think this is a really crucial point, when those same people were asked, the polling of the public in general and trade unionists, when those same people were asked about how concerned they would be, about losing the employment rights that are guaranteed by Europe, 74% said of the British public as a whole said that they would be concerned. And the level of concern was even higher amongst part-time workers. Not surprisingly, given the majority of part-time workers are women and majority low paid. And of those people, this is another, I think, really, really crucial thing, which is why the Conservatives can't be too confident on this. Half of people polled who said that they voted Conservative in the last election were also concerned about losing the rights guaranteed by Europe. So my own conclusion from this is that we can take heart from the Unions21 polling, and I think all the political parties that care about fairness at work should also take political courage from these results and be emboldened to support fairness at work and to recognise the role of trade unions, not only in helping members as individuals, but in delivering a fair and prosperous society. And I don't think the Labour Party, or indeed the Liberal Democrats, and some of the other parties in the other UK countries, they do not have to start with a blank sheet of paper here, do they? We already have the TUC Social Compact, broad support across Europe, a really good document. We've got extensive TUC policy work, and it's being built on every day, drawing on practice elsewhere, in particular Germany, I have to say. That is there for political parties that care about fairness to draw on, and now we have the Unions21 report. Something I also had an opportunity to go to at the end of last year was a round table where to learn about the experience of the Australian trade unions in campaigning on employment rights. They had a general election not too long ago. It delivered a Labour victory, only a narrow Labour victory, but a Labour victory that wasn't otherwise thought to be necessarily on the cards. And the Australian unions between them took employment rights from being a non-issue for voters in general to the second most employment issue at the general election. And at this opportunity that I had, at this was a round table, they shared with us some of their campaign tactics. So in the UK we have, as has been said before, just over 2 years to do the same. And I think we do have a choice in campaigning from now on. We can adopt the sort of defensive, back against the wall type of campaigning to just try and cling on to what we have now, or we can be more positive, more confident about arguing a vision of a future based on fairness and justice at work. You've heard from Francis, you know where the TUC stands on this, and certainly myself as TUC President, most definitely I think it's the latter route that we need to go forward on. Thank you.